Hey, welcome to The Feast Life, where we empower you, the modern homeschool mom, to create a life and homeschool you love. I'm Julie Ross, the creator of the award-winning curriculum A Gentle Feast, a homeschool veteran of over 20 years, and a certified Christian life coach. Charlotte Mason said, life should be all living, not a mere tedious passing of time. So on this show, we seek to savor the feast of life. So go get your favorite beverage and pull up a chair. You're welcome at this table. Hello, welcome back to the Feast Life podcast. I'm your host, Julie Ross. In today's conversation, we're going to be tapping into the incredible power of creativity and art in our homeschool journeys. Whether your kids naturally gravitate towards drawing or you're trying to find ways to spark their creative flame, today's guest has the perfect solution for you. Join me in my chat with Cindra, who is the founder of Guide Dots, an innovative art program that transforms how kids learn to draw, one dot at a time. In this episode, we're diving into why art is not just an optional activity, but a foundational skill that builds confidence, enhances problem solving, and even supports emotional regulation. Cindra shares her unique scaffolding approach to teaching art, how Guide Dots is profoundly impacting neurodiverse learners, and practical tips for parents to nurture creativity at home, even if you think you can't draw a stick figure. So if you ever wished you could give your children the gift of artistic expression, confidence, and a lifelong love for creating, this conversation is for you. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let's get inspired together. Hey, Cindra, welcome to the Feast Life. I am so glad you are here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and just to chat.
Yes, so we are going to be talking about art and your product Guide Dots and all fun things to do with that. But before we get started, can you just give everyone a brief kind of intro into who you are and how you got started creating this wonderful product to help children learn how to draw?
Yeah. So I was an artsy kid. I went to college for art education, got my degree as an art teacher, and then I had always learned outside of school. Like I had always learned at an after school program. So it felt really natural for me, like after college, to go into or to open my own art studio for after school and homeschool kids. And so I have a brick and mortar business. I've been doing that now. It'll be 10 years. So I'm so excited about that. But about 5 or 6 years ago, I started to realize that I could reach artsy kids further. And that's what started to make me think about this idea of Guide Dots. And so I launched Guide Dots, which is an art program for kids. It's like a very unique idea, and we can get into that. But that is what my sort of origin story. And now Guide Dots is about 6 years old, and we're just chugging along, trying to encourage creativity for kids across the world.
Yeah, I love that because I feel like that's something that's definitely missing. And especially in public schools, there's definitely still art classes, and I'm so grateful for that. But like it has really gone on the cutting block a lot of the time, unfortunately, with funding and things like that. But then as homeschoolers, we have the unique opportunity to provide our kids with kind of creative tools and resources that really are going to enhance their entire learning. So oftentimes people feel like art is like an extra, which is
Mhm.
why it can be on the chopping block in terms of funding, in terms of time spent in school. But even for homeschool families, right? It could be like, oh, that's something cute, or if we have
Right.
time, or I'll send my kids to a camp in the summer and we did art. So how do you see art education fitting into a homeschool family? What is the value of that? How is that not optional?
Yeah, so you're so right. Like art is being cut in schools, and if it's not being cut, it's a lot of times the focus is art history. So for
Mhm.
me, as a kid who like loved drawing growing up, and specifically drawing, I just really love fostering that in kids. And I think drawing is such just like a natural thing, right? Think about the people doing cave drawings. It's just like something that's innate in us from really early childhood. And I have worked with homeschool families through my brick and mortar and now a lot through Guide Dots. And I think it's just like a natural evolution of little kids who enjoy drawing and having that just progress and keeping that like problem solving and that creativity that sort of comes with drawing. And I think, as we all know, like it can also span different subject matter and that kind of thing, right? Like we could learn all different types of like science things or history things through drawing as well. And so I think drawing in general and art in general is just so powerful of a learning tool and
Mhm.
specifically for the problem solving and the creativity piece of it that I think it's it just serves families so well in the homeschool environment.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just tell you my story here, be real.
Yeah.
So I was one of those kids who loved to draw, and
Yeah.
in school, that kind of got that love got taken out because it wasn't good enough.
Yes.
And being told in our class, like, that's not right. You have to do it this way. And it doesn't look, mine didn't look like the teachers that I was trying
Right.
to copy. And I would just get so
Right.
frustrated that I think that was like the first class I ever got a B in was like middle school art. And
Oh
I
yeah.
was just devastated. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
forget it. I'm not an artist. So, how does your program help kids who maybe drawing doesn't come as naturally or easily?
Yeah. It's really interesting in college in art ed classes. I learned this thing that's about the critical age in art education. And so around age 8, kids start to essentially judge their own artwork, right? And they start to be like, I'm good or I'm bad at art. And also around age 8, that's when kids go from like this uninhibited, like beautiful, creative, I'm just going to throw scribbles on and not really care about it, to like really wanting their artwork to look real to the things that they like see around the world, right? And if they are trying to make it look real based off of what they see in their brain, and then also they have this like new self-awareness of what they feel like is good or bad, that combination can be like a really sticky part for kids. So that's why we see a lot of like drawing and art education for kids drop off in that 8 to 12 age
Right.
group. Is that's when they're really starting to judge their own artwork. And so what's so cool about guide dots and about the way that I teach is my whole goal is to like make it so approachable and meet them where they're at and then have them sort of skyrocket. So Guide Dots is built on, I don't know if, but there's this term in education that's like scaffolding. So if you
Yes,
can
right. Yeah.
envision, yeah,
Mhm.
so if you can envision like the scaffolding of a building, it's there to like support while things are being built and then they take it down
Mhm.
once it's built. It's the same thing with guide dots. Like the dots, we strategically place these dots on this piece of paper. And as they work through the curriculum, we actually wean the kids from the dots. And
Mhm.
so what's really cool about it is it's there to support them as a tangible piece, like on their desk. And then they can choose. I also try really hard in the videos to like give them lots of choice of, okay, if you're wanting your squirrel to be like it's got eaten a lot of nuts from this dot to this dot, you're gonna draw a big curved line so that he's looks like he's eaten a lot of nuts versus you could make it a little straighter to make him look like he is waiting for nuts, right? So I try to like give lots of choice points in
Yeah.
the instruction, but then as they go through the curriculum, we wean them from the dots. And so therefore they start to gain that sort of muscle for drawing and be more and more confident in their choices and their lines as they move through the curriculum. So that's like how I'm combating what you experienced in schools and trying to like really make it approachable for kids.
Yeah, I love that. So can you explain visually? I know like people are
Yeah.
listening as well, but this is also on YouTube. How it works. Like what is guide dots? You mentioned about like drawing from one dot to the next to make a squirrel. Like how does that actually work? And then how are you teaching them how to draw in that process?
Yeah. So it's a little bit hard to explain because it is unique to really anything that's out there, but I'll try to explain it. So essentially, you get a kit. Actually, here's the kit, right? So you get a kit. It's we have two different ones that are geared towards different age groups, depending on the age of your child. But and inside the kit is a light tablet and essentially, and then they get a roll. Let me pull one so that you can see if anybody does go to find this on YouTube. So this is how to draw a scarecrow.
Okay,
And
so for
then,
those who aren't on YouTube, this looks like back in the day when we had the printers that printed out the big reams of paper. What are those? Do those have a
well,
special
this
name?
is
I just remember as a teacher, that was so satisfying to watch the big ream of paper come out.
so this is it. And so these dots are strategically placed here. And so they put this on like the light tablet
Okay.
and then they put a piece of paper on top. And so this is important to me when I was like inventing guide dots because I didn't want the dots to be on their paper. I didn't want them to
Yes.
like actually have dots. If you remember the connect the dots from when we were
Oh,
kids,
yes.
I didn't want it to be like micromanaged like that, where there's, I wanted them to start with a blank piece of paper. So they really felt the importance of that from blank piece of paper to like finished piece of artwork. So anyway, so these dots, because of the light, these dots shine through their piece of paper. And then they couple it with the video tutorials of me teaching.
Okay.
And so it's teaching them very incrementally, essentially how to connect the dots. But I don't want to, I always am a little afraid to say connect the dots because it's not like those connect the dots where like the dots are super close together and they're just doing this like little tiny straight
Yes,
line.
right.
It's like with a teacher. So the dots are much more spaced apart. We're teaching them lots of different types of lines. So it might be like an organic line or a straight line or a curved line. We're showing them, again, like I gave the example of the squirrel, we're showing them how to make it look like their squirrel ate more nuts, that kind of thing. And then, like I said, as they move through the curriculum, we wean them from the dots and have them gain that drawing confidence.
So I think this would be really beneficial for kids who like have neurodiversity. How does this type of scaffolding
Yeah.
help a child compared to just a typical, okay, follow along with me as I'm drawing something, or where it's just a free-ended creative draw a city at night,
Yes.
how would your program really help kids, and what kind of like success have you seen with certain different neurodiversities?
Yeah, so it's been really interesting because I've always worked with all different types of kids again in my brick and mortar. And when I like designed guide dots, I really did not have neurodiverse kids in mind. I really just created it for a kid like me who wanted more support in drawing. But what was really has been like such a beautiful silver lining out of that has come out of guide dots is so many homeschool families with children who have neurodiverse or neurodiversity, they have reached out. And I always think I have never written an email to a brand unless I'm not very happy with what's going on. And so I'm always just so taken aback by these moms and dads who contact me and they're like, oh my gosh, Guide Dots has made such a difference. And I think what it is that sort of incremental bite size pieces that kids with neurodiversity can easily do, and it meets them exactly where they are. So, like, we've had students with autism, students with dysgraphia, students with ADHD, and their parents. What's so cool about those parents is they are like gushing about it, right? Like, they are like, my child has never been able to sit down and do a finished piece of artwork and they're so very proud of what they've achieved. And just between it being those very bite-sized pieces, I think that's a big piece of it. I also think that the video tutorials, obviously, like them being able to pause, take breaks, rewind, come back to it, all of those things, just making it so very approachable for them and meeting them where they are. I think that's what's been the strength of Guide Dots for children with neurodiversity.
And so how long does a typical like lesson take?
It really depends on the student, but I would say probably really like a good hour, I would say is probably on average because we do the drawing with them and that's usually about 45 minutes. And then we add color and we like to add color not just with markers. We do like chalk pastel, oil pastel, watercolor, all different types of
Mhm.
media. And so it really just depends on the project and the student mostly, but I would say like average is probably a good hour.
And are most people doing that every week or once a month or what's the timing?
Yeah, I like to tell them my favorite way for them to do it, which I don't know if all of them do it this way, but I like them to do the drawing one day and then the
Right.
coloring another day because I
That's
just
a
think
lot of focus. Yeah.
yeah, it's a ton of focus for kids. And so it is just way more successful if they can fully focus on the drawing, put it away, and then come back to the coloring. But I know a lot of families do, maybe they just do art once a week. So they'll do the drawing and then the next week they'll do the coloring. That's how we do it through like my brick and mortar because the
Yeah.
kids only come once a week. So we do the drawing, then we do the coloring, and then we do another drawing and we do another coloring. And that fills our whole month. I've also had people contact me and they're like, they've done 3 guide dots since getting it yesterday. So it's just totally dependent on the
Yeah, yeah.
family.
Have you had people use it like in a co-op or a group setting?
So I have had parents like buy the same lesson and then put the video up so that more than one child could be doing it. 2 or 3 kids could do the same
At the same
lesson.
time? Okay.
But I have never seen, no one's contacted me about a bigger group than like maybe 2 or 3. I have done it in a classroom because I was like, oh, this would be really interesting,
Mhm.
even as a supplement in schools.
Yeah.
And so I have done it myself, like with a classroom to see if that would work. And it did really work well. It's something that I think could be really cool, but I haven't had anybody like actually contact me about it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you hoping the kids are going to get from doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is the confidence piece, like confidence in their drawing skill for kids who love to draw, like I was, who love to draw, and that's like their passion. I think that I want to give them that support for them to really feel confident in their drawing skill as a foundation. And then I think the second thing is I really want them, again, and this is why we wean them from the dots, is I want them to learn their own style as they go along. And I think it took me like much too long to like find my own style in art. I was an adult when I
Yeah.
really started to be like, okay, this is what I love and this is my style. And I want that to be happening earlier for all creative kids.
What about are there kids who aren't creative? Do you think there are kids who aren't creative? You said all creative kids.
No, I really think that I know I really think that all kids are creative, but I do think that some just anything else gravitate towards drawing
Mhm.
or they show a interest
Mhm.
in art. I don't really believe in talent though.
Right.
Like I hate the word talent because I know and I've proven like multiple times that if kids even just have any innate interest in drawing, that they can learn it and they can feel really successful in it. I hate to say the word talent, but I do think that there are kids that gravitate towards it.
Oh yeah, of course. That's like anything else, right? But it's want to learn how to play soccer, you have a practice, you do
Right,
drills. If you
right,
want to learn how to do art, you have to do reps, just like any other skill.
right.
It's a skill. But what about, is there ways that you feel like parents can encourage their kids if they're not interested, or should they just be like, my kid doesn't like this?
Of course, my answer to that is, of course, I want them to be. But really, truly, because I do see so much value in drawing in other ways, like problem solving. Like, I think it
Right.
creates, I really, truly believe that it's like one of the strongest ways for kids to explore problem solving and like trying to figure that out. And then I think that translates into so many areas of their life. So, to me,
Mhm.
like my goal is even if they don't show a lot of interest, I want that interest to last as long as possible. So that innate interest that we have in drawing and art that starts really at a young age, like my goal is to elongate that as long as possible. And I have had a lot of people, a lot of like the way that we talk about guide dots is it's for kids who love to draw or it's for kids
Mm.
who are really artsy. But I also think I've had a lot of parents who their child has struggled, right? Like dysgraphia, for example,
Yeah.
the children struggle with putting ideas on paper and writing and letter form and like all of those things, right? And we've had a lot of parents who buy it specifically to help their child move forward and move past those things.
Mhm.
So I think there's like a lot of strength in it for kids that also don't have a lot of quote unquote skill or interest. But yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a perfect example because to develop fine motor skills, you could have your child do a bunch of handwriting worksheets, which I think is extremely ineffective and a really poor way to do it. And it's probably going to cause a lot of frustration, especially if your child
right,
is neurodiverse. Or you can have them drawing a scarecrow, like you just pointed out. Like
right,
that is building the same skill, right? For fine
right.
motor, but it's not in a way that's tedious. It's in a way that can be really fun and might light up
Yeah.
something inside of them that you don't know until they actually try it.
Yeah, I always like to say it's learning disguised. I think drawing is like learning disguised. You learn so many, even now as an adult. Like I learned so much as I'm drawing. And in fact, I even just saw something that I thought was really interesting about how it's similar to almost like a somatic experience, like drawing and doing art. It's like your brain functions, your brain and your nervous system functions the same as if you were doing like a breath work. And so I just thought that was really interesting because I always have always had that when
Yes,
I was doing
yes.
art. But, and I think everybody experiences that in one way or the other. But I just thought that was a really interesting parallel because I do
Oh,
think
yeah.
that you get those alternate benefits that we rarely talk about when talking about art.
Oh, 100%. Drawing is so calming for your nervous,
Hmm.
especially if you have a kid like with autism or ADHD and they're
Right,
having trouble regulating their emotions. Just being
right,
able to focus on this dot and this thing,
right.
it like takes your focus off of whatever it is that's causing all this anxiety and emotion
Yeah.
within
And
you.
also just to give that parent that calm for their child too. What a lovely like break for the parent as well whose child is struggling. I'm like, I can't even. I have
But
three little ones and I need that break sometimes.
oh yeah, for sure. But it's also a very important life skill for
Right,
anybody, any human, right? To like how can you regulate your nervous system
right,
and how can you handle your emotions in a healthy way? And so drawing
right.
is so therapeutic for that. Is there a way that you focus then? Because for me, I feel like part of the healing is focusing on the process versus the product.
Yeah,
Because like when I was growing up, the focus was very much on the product. Does your art look like the teacher's? If it
right,
does, then you get an A. If it doesn't, whatever. And we're going to
right.
grade something that was like very personal. So how do you get the kids to, or do you, or how can you encourage the parents when they're helping their kids with drawing or any artistic endeavor to focus on the process and not the product?
Yeah. So we talk a lot in the projects. I talk a lot about when you get it to a place that you like it. Like I always try to give that sort of decision point to the child because like even myself like with my I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old right now and even myself like when they're doing guide dots it turns out totally differently than the example
Hmm.
but I always am asking them, are you liking it? Do you like that line? And if they do, then they move on, right? It does not have to look like mine at all. And again, I give a lot of decision points about that. We'll talk about how there's baby giraffes that have a little bit shorter necks. There's adult giraffes that have very long necks. We try to give like lots of differences in the way that we teach is one thing. And then I think like as far as like parents encouragement and the way that parents speak to the child, I think we do a lot on our social media about like how we can encourage kids. And then we do have a little bit of a parent like training video series
Okay.
on like how to speak to kids about their artwork. And again, I think it's just like making sure that you're putting their thoughts about their artwork first, as opposed to you placing your thoughts about their artwork on them. I think
Mhm.
that's like really the biggest thing. So if you can just keep that at the forefront of your brain, I think that's going to make a huge impact for the child.
Yeah, I really like what you said about asking questions too, not like, I really like, that you made your giraffe pink or whatever. And
Right.
every giraffe I've seen at the zoo is yellow. Or,
Yeah.
oh, I wouldn't have made the giraffe's neck short because giraffes
Right.
I see at the zoo have long necks.
Right.
Like, rather than inserting your own opinions, you ask them, oh, really interesting that your giraffe has a short neck. Can you tell me why? Being very curious and get them talking rather
Right.
than evaluating it. Is that
Yes.
what you're
Yeah.
talking
And
about? Okay.
yeah, and I think that's a big piece of the reason that I did not go into teaching in the schools, teaching art. Like I went the alternative route and did a brick and mortar art school because like I did not want to be in the grading and paperwork of artwork. I think it's a bigger mission than grades. And no, I think it's about the child and about what the child brings the child joy and how they want to show up and how they want to create. And I think the only reason that I am doing guide dots is to give them support in that. And
Yeah.
that's my own philosophy on it. But I think one of the biggest frustrations that I have just in general is I do think, like you said at the beginning of this conversation, about how like a lot of times we get, oh, that's cute, or kids
Yeah.
get, oh, that's cute.
Pretty.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, there's so much depth here that happened behind this drawing or behind or between these dots. There's so much lesson and so much good that's happening there. And unfortunately, I think that's one of my biggest just general frustrations, rants is going to be like that sometimes I feel like general society does not understand the depth of what's happening behind a drawing or behind and specifically behind a drawing for kids.
Yes. And it's really great that you encourage the parents and give them tools in your class or on social media for here's what to say, here's
Right.
the approach this, because I feel like it can be a little intimidating, especially if you have like past art trauma or issues or whatever to feel like, okay, how do I encourage my kids in a way that I was not encouraged? So, do you have parents going, I don't really like art or I'm not artsy, so I don't really know what to do?
Absolutely. In fact, the number one thing I hear is, I don't know how to draw a stick figure, so I can't help them. I feel like I hear that all the time. And what I love about guide dots is it's all right there in the box, right? And it gives your child a lot of support, both tangibly and then again on these video tutorials. And so it's really cool to see the parents. One, it's really cool to see the kid like start to be able to do it independently, which happens pretty fast. I liken it almost to a board game, right? Like you got to teach them the first time, like how it's going to be. And then once they get it, then they get it. But then it's also really cool to see like the parents will come back and be like, oh, I never knew this piece about art, or I never knew like we use a kneaded eraser. Like I never knew a kneaded eraser picked up chalk pastel, right? Or like things like that. So it's always fun to hear like that the parents are getting like these little nuggets as well along the way. But again, I think even just the fact that so many adults say, I can't even draw a stick figure, like like it's like heart-wrenching for me because I'm like, this is the mindset that we grew up on, and I'm trying to change it. But
Do you have any parents who do it with their kids?
I don't have any. I've never seen any parent like do it beside their child, but I
Okay.
have seen parents do it after their kids go to bed.
Ah, that's awesome. I bet that's a really great way to relax at night.
Yeah, like I think especially like our level 2 kit, which is like for ages 8 to 12, I think like the art gets to be so like detailed, and it's the level in, again, I think it's the level in which a lot of adults gave up, right, on their own art journey. And so it's like a very like approachable, not too childlike level of art that they can pick back up on. So I think that's where.
I love that. That's so great. That's really encouraging. Like, yeah, because I think that's something. a ton of parents feel and struggle with, and they're like, I just want someone to teach it to my kid, but they also don't realize like how beneficial it can be for them as well. And it might be something
Right.
they actually really love, but they
Right.
just, yeah, were pushed out of it.
Yeah. And even at my brick and mortar, like I have so many adults that come in and they're like, I used to love drawing. And then they just lost it along the way. And then
Mhm.
something in them stirs and they start to come back to it. So,
Yeah, it's one of the things I tell my coaching clients a lot if they just feel unmotivated and stuck in life. Think back to when you were a little kid around age 8, that's what I always say. And
uh-huh.
what did you like to do?
Yeah.
Because that's the age before we feel like this is what I have to do, or this is what I'm supposed to do, or I'm
Yeah.
not doing it good enough, or I'm not doing it right. And we're just free playing and
Yeah.
enjoying ourselves and who God made us to be at that point. And so it's, if you really love drawing as a kid, this might be something you want to look in for yourself too, and not just for
Yes.
your kids.
Yes. Yeah, no, my mother-in-law, it's actually funny. She is retired now and she does a good bit of them. And
So
at
cool.
first I thought it was like, oh, just to support me when I started the business, but no, she does it like once a month. And I'm like, wow, like this is so fun to see you. And I really like it. And now I feel better like when I'm drawing it with my grandkids, like I feel better about freehanding.
Okay. So explain, we'll wrap up here, how the kits work. What would someone order to get started? What would they need to do?
Yeah, so we have our starter kits. Again, we have two different age groups. So one is 4 to 7 and one is 8 to 12. And the dots change for each age level. And then inside to add on to it. So if
Okay,
you're
so it
building,
just totally froze.
oh,
So can you start back over? I don't know if it's what's happening here. Sorry.
yeah. Yeah. So we have two kits, like I said, and we have a level 1 and a level 2, and it's ages 4 to 7 and then 8 to 12. And all the supplies come in them, and the supplies and also the dots sort of change depending on that age group.
Okay.
And then it has two initial art projects in there to get your child started, but then you can buy all of the additional art projects a la carte. So a lot of homeschool families, for example, are planning their whole curriculum or their whole first semester, so they decide on their cadence, and then they go buy the starter kit, and then they buy their additional art projects that they feel as though their child would be interested in.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. So where do they find you, guide dots, all the stuff?
Yeah. Our website is guide-dots.com. Make sure you remember the dash.
And dots
And
spelled out.
yes,
Okay.
so guide, I'm going to guide you into the woods, and then dots, DOTS, with a dash in the middle. And then our social media on Instagram, I think we're guide.art. On Facebook, I think we're guide dots.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'll
come find us.
link in the show notes for sure. And thank you so much. This has been a very wonderful conversation. I appreciate you sharing with us.
I'm happy to be here.
All right. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Let's wrap up with some key takeaways. Number one, art is essential, not optional. Art fosters innate creativity, problem solving, and fine motor skills, making it a foundational rather than an optional part of education. Number two, overcoming the critical age barrier. Around age 8, children begin critically evaluating their art. Guide Dots helps children navigate this stage through supportive scaffolding, boosting their confidence and maintaining their interest. Guide Dots, again, like I just said, uses this scaffolding-based approach. So it employs visible dots through this light tablet that can help your child gradually learn to develop their drawing skills, which is perfect for neurodiverse children. And last but not least, remember, in art, it's the process over the product. Encourage your children to value their personal artistic journey rather than producing perfect artwork, because this promotes deeper learning, emotional regulation, and will help build their self-confidence. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this episode, please heart it down below and make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. Leave a comment and let me know what you learned in today's episode. I'd love to hear from you.